Part of our intention with this video is to show viewers both the reality of off-road sports and the consequences of not taking the potential hazards seriously. We do not encourage viewers to imitate the action depicted. Our sole aim is to help you ride safely if you make the decision to participate in these activities.
What makes off-road riding so tough? Mostly, it's the obstacles.
The ruts and the road jumps are probably the most scary to me.
Probably downhills, I think, are the toughest. The pucker bushes, because they kind of just reach out and grab you.
Rocks are always difficult, always a real challenge.
As every rider knows, off-road life has its ups and downs. But there are inside secrets to handling off-road obstacles that make riding much easier and a lot more fun.
Because you never know what lurks beneath the surface, water can be a tricky obstacle. Stay alert and loose on the bike. Don't go too fast or too slow. Maintain a steady speed. And don't be afraid to dab it or put your foot down to keep your balance. Scan ahead for overhanging branches, roots, slippery rocks, and unexpected drop-offs. When you hit a mud bog, be prepared to lose some power. Don't fight it. Stay aggressive, using a controlled throttle to keep up your momentum. When you combine mud with an obstacle like this ledge, momentum becomes even more critical. Well, at least you got the bike over. But if your approach is too slow, or you don't think you have enough traction, don't even make the attempt. Get off and bulldog to firmer ground. And even on dry land, you need good speed to conquer a ledge. From boulders to pebbles, rocks are another kind of obstacle that always challenge a rider's skill. Especially when you don't see them. On hills, rocks can be a nightmare. It's difficult to maintain traction, so stand up and get ready to handle any sudden moves. Remember, it's always better to choose a line away from obstacles when you can. Rocks are notoriously unpredictable. If you do find yourself in a rough spot, be careful not to use too much brake. But don't let the bike get away from you either. Feather the clutch and give it just a little throttle. During a trail ride, you'll often come across unavoidable obstacles like fallen trees. Make sure you keep the front end high when you wheelie over, or you might get hung up. And even when you think you're out of the woods, plants like manzanita, cactus, and palmetto are some of the obstacles that can still hold you up. It takes a skilled eye to find a line through vegetation like this. Sometimes you can blast through bushes. Other times it makes more sense just to get off and maneuver around them. Of all the obstacles out there, by far the most challenging are the ruts. Tricky enough on flat ground, ruts are even more demanding on an incline. Keep your tires clear. Even with all these riding tips, don't forget that wearing the right safety gear is your best defense against all kinds of obstacles. Always wear a helmet, boots, jersey, gloves, and leathers.
Rocks, ruts, downhills, off-cambers. Obstacles like these can make even the most skilled ATV rider nervous. Gnarly terrain is an everyday part of off-road life, but obstacles can be conquered if you know the right techniques.
Unless you want to ride in a parking lot all day, hills are the one obstacle you must learn how to handle. But it's not the hill itself that scares most new riders. It's the rocks and ruts that cause all the problems. With any ATV, the key to conquering obstacles is clutch and throttle control, line selection, and body position. On a four-wheeler, it's often easier to ride over rocks, but watch out for a sudden loss of traction. The back wheels of a three-wheeler can clear most obstacles, but there's still the front end to deal with. Pop the clutch and wheelie over. Big wheel riders can use their feet to maintain balance and stick to their line. But don't try this on a 3 or 4-wheeler. Ruts are tricky, even on a quad. If you clip one, don't panic, stay in control. Always avoid crossing a rut on a downhill. Pick a safe line before you start. As you can see, protective gear is essential, no matter what kind of ATV you ride. Out on the trail, it's important to stay alert as you negotiate through tight sections. Estimate your clearance room first, and remember, obstacles are waiting for you on all sides. When you have to tackle roadblocks, like this fallen log, use the clutch to loft the front end. Then shift your weight forward to get the rear wheels over. If you don't shift your weight, the machine could buck you off, or you might not make it at all. Wheelies can also be great for getting through heavy underbrush. Long obstacle sections, like this dry stream bed, require a different technique. Stand up, stay loose, and be ready to handle quick changes in direction. 2-wheel riders can dab it to keep from going over. And 3-wheelers can just shift and tilt to avoid rocks completely. In the water, rocks can be treacherous. They're loose and slippery, and you can't always see them. Concentration is essential, but be flexible. Adapt to the demands of the terrain. Fat-wheeled ATVs can get sideways in places where 3- and 4-wheelers might feel more stable. Make sure your machine is waterproof. Seal the airbox and insulate the electrical system. Of course, other ATVs have problems with the wet stuff too. If you do get caught, rock the bike back and forth until you can slip off. ATVs can even style over ledges. The trick is to shift your weight as you approach the top to get the back wheels clear. You'll need good momentum to carry you over, especially in sand or loose dirt. And going down a ledge, just make sure you look before you leap.
Many new ATV enthusiasts write to us and ask, why can't I ride an ATV as well as I ride a dirt bike? The answer is you can, once you understand that ATVs and dirt bikes go by a different set of rules. Compared to a motorcycle, ATVs can be deceptively easy to operate. But even though you're moving on one, that doesn't mean you're in control. With a dirt bike, you learn immediately. If you don't maintain momentum, you'll lose balance and fall. You can't just sit on an ATV either. It takes momentum and a lot of body English to handle a 3, 4, or big wheeler. Basically, it's a matter of size. ATVs are bigger than motorcycles. They're heavier, wider, and not as easy to fling around. The additional weight isn't much of a problem when you're riding on a flat line. But when you're on an incline, the pounds are much more noticeable, especially when you're having trouble cleaning the hill to begin with. In a situation like this, tossing away a motorcycle is easy. But getting clear of an ATV can be a little trickier. In sand, ATVs are just a lot more fun than dirt bikes. At low speeds, a motorcycle's narrow tires dig in, and at high speeds, the wheels get sideways all too easily. ATVs, on the other hand, have wider profile knobbies more suitable for sand riding. Cornering ATVs requires good body English, both to maximize speed and to control the pitch. And even though they have 2 wheels like motorcycles, big wheelers steer more like an ATV and a dirt bike combined. Don't think that a light touch will do it. Lean hard on the bars and extend your leg for balance. Jumping ATVs can also be a new experience for the ex-motorcyclist. Dirt bikes feel lighter in the air, flying higher and further than ATVs. Again, weight is the critical factor, whether you're going up or coming back down. With balloon tires, there's usually an added bounce to your landings. If you can wheelie a motorcycle, you won't have too much trouble pulling one off on a 3-wheeler. You'll probably find it harder to lift the front end of a big wheeler or a quad. Unlike motorcycles, just popping the clutch on an ATV won't be enough to hoist the front. Brute strength is the secret. And because they're wider, it's also difficult to see around an ATV when you're riding the rear wheels.